All right, guys, I have a awesome video for you today because I think this is the biggest improvement for the least amount of money you can do if you have a 2001 to 2004 Toyota Tacoma and you don't yet have a keyless entry or a key fob remote. So maybe you have the electronic door locks like I did, but you didn't get a remote and they don't have a receiver. Well, for $15 and about 15 minutes, I'm gonna show you how to add this so you can lock and unlock your car with the remote, and it works so well. This is one of the best improvements I have done to the truck since I bought it, and I'm gonna show you how to do it. This is how we're gonna wire up the keyless entry for your first gen Tacoma. Now I have a 2001 first gen Tacoma, so the color of wires that are on your truck may differ if you have a different year model of truck. But if you have a 2001 first gen Tacoma with electric door locks but don't have key fob or keyless entry, this $14 kit is what I'm using on my truck, and it works super well. So let's go over the basic wiring. This is very simple, and we'll get right into it. So you have orange and black, and solid black. These are all grounded. You have red, which is power. You have solid yellow and yellow and black. Those are all spliced together. Goes to ground, goes to power. And then you have solid white is one trigger, and white with black is the other trigger. These ones get spliced into solid gray and solid purple, and I'll show you which one gets onto which one and where that's located, but that's all the wiring you need to do is use splice connectors or T connectors and splice these guys into your trigger wires, which are gray, and the other one is purple. And then you find constant power, which is white and red, and then you find constant ground, which is somewhere under your dash for these ones. And then everything's gonna work. I'm just gonna go over my favorite way to do this type of wiring. This might be super basic for everybody, but I know that there's some people out there that this will help. So if you're splicing multiple wires together, this is my preferred technique, and I'm going to be using some of this that I've got off Amazon. This is self-adhesive lined shrink wrap tubing, and I'm not going to use soldering. I'm just going to use this, so tear me apart in the comments for that, but I've used that for a lot of years and that works really well. I'm going to be using these auto wire strippers, which are like one of my all-time favorite tools because they make wiring so easy. So I'm going to be using these. These are only $25. Those are on Amazon too in my store. Then I'm going to use a lighter. It's kind of windy out here, but you guys know how a lighter works. Apparently this one doesn't at all, but I'm going to use that to heat up the shrink wrap tubing and close it over the wires. And that is basically it. With all the wires laid out, we have yellow and black wires. These are going to go to constant power along with the red. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is make all these wires one. To do that, I'm going to actually just cut it right in the middle all together like this. Just cut them all. I know you're thinking you just ruined it, but now I'm going to strip back all these, and you can use this handy little depth gauge on here so you get them all at the same ish. Okay, actually I think I have enough over there. I'm going to twist all these together as one. So all three of these, grab them like this. Okay, now effectively one wire, right? And that means it'll go right into my other one wire, which is this red one. Gonna give myself a little extra. Okay. So now I just need to put these two wires together. Before I do that, grab a piece of heat shrink tubing that can fit over all of it. And I might even grab an extra big piece and slide this down over the base like this. So these are nice and clean, like coming out like that, and I'll shrink that over after I do this one, which I'm going to pick a size that's close to this wire, but could fit over the end of these three like that. So like this, make sure that goes all the way over. This is my technique, guys. I'm sure there's better ways, but I've never had a problem doing it like this for this small gauge style of wire, and you get a really good strong connection. Okay, so all three wires going into that one. This is going to go over the top, and then we're going to shrink it, and it glues itself together because this has glue inside. I'm probably going to have to come back with a better lighter. I know I am. Painful. Okay, come back with a better lighter. Back with a better lighter. So that guy's down. We got our splice right in the middle of this. And I always like to start in the middle and go back and forth so that it shrinks from the middle and goes out. You can also use a heat gun, which is made for this, but I found that the lighter actually is my preferred method and works really well. If you go from the middle to the outsides, then the glue gets worked out to the ends. There we go. And should look kind of like that. You can see it coming out. That's nice and protected. I'm going to slide this guy up just a little bit, and I'm going to do the same thing to this one. You can see that makes a nice clean splice that's really strong. So there we have yellow, yellow and black and red. It's on a fuse. That one's done. We're going to do the same thing for orange and black with ground. So I'm going to try and pick the same length here, right there. Cut all three. We only need the black one after this. Strip all three here. You can see why this is like my favorite tool. I've got all three of those. I've got my black ground. Get myself a little extra. Twist these all together. Now I have one wire. Grab one of these thicker ones. Go over all three. Might have to trim that, yeah. Like that. Okay, now I've got that one. I'm going to go with this moderate sized tube. Oops, totally messed that up. Less than ideal. This goes here. Wrap around. Like that. So it's nicely wound together, good contact. This guy's going to go over the top and into this guy. And then heat them all up. The disadvantage of using a lighter is that you could overdo it and burn the protective casing on the wire, so you have to be careful with that. But as long as you're moving around kind of quickly, then that won't happen. So there you go. So now, plus it also gets hot. You have power or red with yellow and black, and you have orange and black with black. So now you only have to find a place for the ends of these guys, and I will show you where that goes. In the interior, you're going to want to remove this lower panel right under the steering wheel, and it's very easy. You use a 10mm socket, and there's one Phillips head screw, so I'm going to go ahead and remove all those right now. Now this should come totally free except for the hood latch release wire, which is right here. And you don't really need to move that unless it really gets in your way, but you should be able to just kind of fold it down like this, and you'll have access to this whole area. So with the lower dash piece off, this is what it looks like. And I've actually already wired this up before I made this video. That's how I learned how to do it. And so I'm going back. I bought a different kit, is the one I wired earlier. So this one I already have in here. The wiring looks a little different, and it's kind of messy since I am working on some other accessory stuff. But this will show you exactly where the wires go. So solid white, it has black on it from the electrical tape, but solid white is spliced into solid gray. And I just used one of these piggyback splices that just clamps on. It pierces through the solid gray wire and pierces through the solid white wire. And then of course this gets all covered up and taped. They look kind of tacky, you guys, but they actually work really well, and it's easier to work on these thin, old, brittle wires like this than it is to cut and solder and do all that kind of stuff in this little closed environment. So solid white, solid gray, white and black trigger wire goes to solid purple. And you can see I actually made a mistake and cut this wire in half, and I had to use some heat shrink to put it back together. But solid purple, I don't know if this is focusing very well. Solid purple with white and black. Solid gray with solid white. Those are your lock and unlock trigger wires. And then red fused, I tapped into solid white, which I think earlier I said red and white, which is also right here, but I actually used solid white. I think they are both the same, but solid white is what I used. So red goes to solid white. And then for ground, which is of course the black one, I found this bolt right here, right below the parking brake. Just pulled it out and then put a ring terminal on to the end of the ground wire and smashed it in there. So ground, power, and trigger wires, and that is all you need to do. And then all this other, oh, this red one right here is the antenna, and then these other ones are for other things. If you have trunk release, if you want to wire in your turn signal lights to flash when you do the lock or unlock, you can use those. I'm actually going to use this to try and wire in some other stuff, like maybe locks for the camper and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to wrap these up, make sure there's no exposed ends like there is right now, cut them, and then tape them up, get them all clean. And then I found putting the box itself right above this heater tube is a nice little spot. So I'm going to go ahead and tape all this back up, install it again, and then I'll show you how it works. Okay, it's all buttoned up nicely and clean back there. Let's give it a try. So with lock and unlock, it's so satisfying, guys. Let's see, lock it, nothing, unlock, works perfectly. Okay, let's see how far the remote actuates the doors, and I'm about 30 yards, 20 yards away. I've done this from a lot farther, but this will be an example. Perfect every time. I have a 2006 Porsche Cayenne Turbo S, which was normally $128,000. I didn't buy it for that much, but the remote on that does not work nearly as well as this $15 one. All right, guys, well, there you have it. I hope this video was helpful. I know for me, it was one of the biggest improvements I've done yet to my truck. Considering all this, I feel like that says a lot. This little daily updates, daily convenience updates to your truck, like better headlights, better brakes, more comfortable seats, ability to play like Bluetooth music or have Apple CarPlay in your truck, and the simple convenience of being able to click a button and lock and unlock your truck. Humongous improvements. Those are the things I like to focus on when I get an older car, is kind of just bringing it up to that daily convenience level of a modern car, and then you still have the kind of cool factor and the charm of an older vehicle as well. So anyways, hope that's helpful. You guys got to give this a try. Again, it's only 15 bucks, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video.